Hi there and welcome to Backyard Basics. I'm William Glenn. Today we're going to talk a little bit about bulbs, in particular naturalizing bulbs. A naturalizing bulb is pretty much what it sounds like it is. It's one that you can put in the ground and it's going to naturally take off. Basically, nature's going to tell it what it's going to do, how it's going to go through its life cycle, and hopefully it's going to expand, give us more bulbs in the future that we can get a bigger swath of color or maybe share with our friends if we choose to divide them out. We're going to go through some of the superstars of Texas naturalized bulbs, but before we do that, I'd like to just take a little bit of time to talk to you about working the soil, working with what you've got to really increase the chances that we're going to have success with these bulbs. First of all, we want to choose a spot that's a sunny location. That's critical for that flower development, and we don't really want to write off some of the spaces that are under trees. Trees usually are not sunny spots, you think, but what happens a lot of time is most of our trees around here are actually deciduous, which means they're going to lose their leaves, and a lot of these bulbs are going to be spring bulbs. So that means they're going to be going into their bloom cycle when these leaves are not on the trees. So it brings color into an otherwise perhaps drab area. We want to choose a spot that drains very well. Bulbs don't like to be wet for long periods of time. It can actually create rot, and I would say that's probably the #1 reason that bulbs fail, is they get too much love, too much water. We also want to make sure that when we're working with these bulbs that we give them plenty of food. They have to store a lot of food for their dormant periods and for their blooming periods. It takes a lot of energy for a flower to do what it does. Some of the things that traditionally gardeners have used are bone meal, soft rock phosphates, but nowadays we have some specifically designed fertilizers just for bulbs that are fantastic. Slow release organic fertilizers that give the bulbs everything they need. I always spray my bulbs with a solution of liquid seaweed before I plant them, and sometimes I'll even spray them with the liquid seaweed and roll them right in that fertilizer so I know that they're making good contact and that they've got those nutrients right at their beck and call whenever they need them. So let's jump into some of the stars. There are some fantastic naturalizing bulbs both for the fall and for the spring around here in central Texas. One of my favorites is the oxblood lily. This is just a fantastic big maroon bloom that has yellow stamens, nice contrast. Sometimes it's called a hurricane lily. Schoolhouse lily is another common name. Both refer to the time in which it blooms, which is September. Kids are going back to school in September, so they get that name, schoolhouse lily, for that reason. The spider lily, also known as by its botanical name, the Lycoris radiata, is a fantastic little red bloom as well, but this one has stamens that are actually longer than the petals or sepals on the plant, and so what you get is a real firework looking, very unusual looking bloom on that. The narcissus and the daffodils, these are famous. When one thinks of narcissus, typically they think of the paper whites, the white flowers that are grown around the holidays, maybe in bowls on the kitchen table. But there are a lot of naturalizing narcissi too. Narcissi is a word, or you can also say narcissuses, but either way it sounds weird to me. But the daffodils are in the same family, and the daffodils, there are a whole bunch of them. The Erlenmeer is one variety, Delibes is another one. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right either. But, and then a third is the tete-a-tete. But these are all fantastic shades of peach, orange, yellow, white, and various combinations of those colors. Really fantastic and slightly poisonous, which you don't want to keep them near your onions. That could have some pretty disastrous results. But the positive side of that is that you usually don't get animals messing with them. So moving on, the summer snowflake is also called a laden lily. The Leucojum aestivum, I believe, is what it is. And this is a big old bulb that produces one of the most elegant and graceful flowers you'll ever see. I think it's just fantastic. Little umbels of white flowers that face downward. Just a really beautiful little flower. And then finally, my favorite, the Muscari neglectum. As the name indicates, it is one that can be neglected and it will really thrive. You see it sometimes on the green belts around central Austin and around central Texas. You'll see it. It's a blue little hyacinth, a grape hyacinth is the common name, and it reaches a maximum height of only about 6 inches. But what it does is lay down these beautiful swaths of blue, real nice indigos, and it has a grape-like scent. Just a really interesting and beautiful little bulb, really easy to cultivate. So follow some of these basic techniques of planting. Good sunny spot, make sure they don't stay too wet, and then choose based on ones that we know do well around here, and eventually you'll have a big palette of beautiful naturalized bulbs in your yard. For Backyard Basics, I'm William Glenn. We'll see you next time.